Okay, what's up guys? So today what we're going to do is I am going to kind of complete or address one of the requests that I received on an old video. So one of my viewers has asked that I do a series on Golems B7, 8, and 9, and 10 as well. So I've already covered B9, and so today we're going to cover the water golem. So B7. Now B7 used to be the staple for farming early game. This was kind of before they made the change to golems. At that time B8 was a lot harder to get into because it was light, and at the time we didn't have a lot of or dark monsters to help farm that stage, but now it's fire and it's a lot easier. So before that change, B7 was the staple, and it was really slow. So that's a definite downside to farming B7. It's a lot more efficient to just farm for gold at B8 and then start trying to progress to B10. But if you absolutely need to get diamond gems, then you can farm B7. The level of entry is still fairly low. It just takes an extremely long time to actually run it. And so just like with the wood dungeon, you definitely the main strategy is to choose monsters that are of the opposite element, with an advantageous element. And that actually can be fairly difficult when it comes to wood monsters, at least in my opinion. I never early game I never really had very many good wood monsters, and I still don't. The staple wood monster early game to get into B7 I think would probably be the wood Miho. So the wood Miho has a nice kit when it comes to golems and to titans, even in some cases in early game kind of a phase. And then she also has a number of skill books, so you can make her a little bit stronger. If you felt like investing in her, it might be better to save those skill books for a different Miho. But if you had a lot and you have extra gold and that's something you wanted to do, you can think about it. But the gold investment, it might be better to put towards someone else. But yeah, so the wood Miho is a nice entry into if you really need a B7 farmer or B7 monster. She will help your she will help your B7 run. She is an attacker, and she's got a defense down and an AoE stun. Now the thing about running any type of def down or first skill def down is that first skill def down or even shock has the potential to slow down your runs. Now, to be honest, because B7 is so slow anyway, unless you're like high tier and you have some amazing gems, and your monsters are already 6-star max level, you're gonna have slow runs otherwise. And that's just because the golem is extremely tanky. Now in our major the Miho, she is nice for new players because she is an entry level monster. If you run story mode enough, on extreme you will definitely get a Miho. I've had a million of them. But yeah, so she is your staple she's your staple monster for B7, and she's farmable. The way I was running B7 when I first started the game was I made use, because I didn't have a whole lot of wood monsters, I made use of my water siren, and I used her leader skill to help keep my team alive. That's because I didn't have I didn't have wood monsters. It was before they added the vampires and things like that. But, you know, so it is an option. You can actually use a water team to farm B7. I did. You can use the Siren lead, and that's helpful because you will definitely be using your water monsters for B8. So you can just transfer it over, to B7 with the Siren as a leader, and more than likely you should be able to work that out so that your runs are fairly stable. If you're trying to do something like maybe 2 water monas and the water Siren lead, then that is definitely a B8 team. If your monsters keep dying and you happen to need a healer, if you don't need a healer, then just kind of speed through the run. So a water team in B7 is not completely out of the realm of possibilities. To boost it, you can always throw in, like I said, the wood Miho. The other option, so the better option though, is to kind of build just a wood team for these runs. And there are a few monsters who would be helpful. You can actually just build a fully farmable team if you want. You don't have to have the nat 4s or nat 5s to get through B7. It's a fairly low level of entry. Things don't get to be too difficult in golems until you actually hit B9, and you have to think about how to survive through the saps. The damage is not terrible that on that particular floor. It's more so the sap that hurts you on B9, and in B10 it definitely gets harder for people who do not have a huge monster box, and maybe who have not been a part of very many of the farming events or the rebirth events where 433 has given us a few monsters that would be helpful in clearing certain stages like B10. But to talk about B7, you can, like I said, you can easily make a farmable team. For example, even though Beth has always been a bit of a joke, she actually is pretty strong when used with her elemental advantage, and that's because all of the Beths have a skill which is like a predator. I think it's predator, that will boost their natural damage against the opposite element, and so that would give you an additional boost to them already having an elemental advantage. So if you need to farm B7, and B7 is going to always be extremely slow. There's Petrify on the floor, so there's a lot of CC that will, unless you've got enough resist, that it's going to slow your runs down. So that's why B7 is harder to run, and it's not harder to run because it's a difficult stage. It's harder to run because it's just extremely slow and inefficient. So if you're going to farm B7, you should not be farming it for gold. You should consider, if you have to run at B7, you should consider that being kind of like on off times. If you're not able to run B10 yet, then on your off times, that's where you would throw monsters into slower stages. So if your B7 and B9 runs are much slower than your B8 runs, and they should be, then that's when you would run those at night when you don't have the opportunity to manage your account and your farming. And then as you progress and you're able to efficiently run B10, you would run B10 instead of those 2 floors, unless you absolutely just needed to farm those specific shape of gems. But even then, if you're farming officially in B10, why not? So yeah, so the fully farmable team you can just easily just build a fully farmable team for B7. I mean, you've got the Kokomaru, you've got the Seedler, and you've got the Beth, and you've got a Wood Miho. And I mean, that is an easy B7 team that you can easily farm. You can always replace one of those with a healer. So the Wood Katyn would work. I don't think the Wood Katyn is actually that great. But if he's got a little bit of resist, he can clear the sap, or not the sap, but the petrifying on your monsters if you think that that's necessary. And then of course there are the 4-star monsters that are available, and there are a number of them that would be helpful in running B7 if you absolutely felt like you needed to build a 4-star for B7. What I would suggest is that you actually try and build monsters that you will use in multiple areas of the game. So an example of that is the Wood Hannah. Focusing on building a Wood Hannah will not only help get you through B7, but it will also help get you through or help you in Titans. Wood Hannah is a great monster to have in Titans. And also the Wood Cupid is the same way. So if you feel like you need a healer for B7, then those are 4 stars that are great to have. You could also think about doing the Wood Leo. He's a great monster for PvP. So if you build a Wood Leo, you're building for PvP as well. And the Wood Anu is nice. However, for me, I didn't build an Evo 3 one, even though I've had enough Anus to do that. And that's because I wanted to save up my Anus to put toward the light Anu, and so that eventually I can fuse the light Shiva. And I think I can do that now. I just don't have enough of the Storm Beaks yet for the little bird thingies. But yeah, so that's an option. You can also think about Wood Jean. A lot of the Jeans are not always great. The Wood Jean is okay because she can deal some pretty good, some decent damage. But I think the light version is probably the best Jean from in my opinion. You can consider your dark Jean for PvP. So I don't know. You can think about building a Wood Jean. It's an option. She is a wood damage dealer, so she will help get you through, help you do damage on water enemies. The other thing is, you can always build a Wood Yaksha. So the Wood Yaksha is nice to have because she actually can be, you can consider using her in, say, a Dragons B10 team. So I actually use my Water Shiva, and I'll have to record or do another voiceover on my B8 team video, so you guys can see how an Evo 2 B8 team can actually how an Evo 2 Dragons B10 team can actually work. Since then I've Evo 3 another one of my monsters, but just to kind of show proof of concept there. Yeah, so the Wood Yaksha is a possibility. If you can think about her, if maybe you don't have another monster that would fit into that kind of core of monsters that help get you through Dragons B10. And the other one who is really nice to have, other monster who's really nice to have in B7, and who can be nice to have in B7, and who's also very nice to have in Titans, is going to be the Wood Thor. Now you can't get him anymore, so this is only for people who who already have maybe a backup of him from a past event. I'm not saying that, you know, he's a priority to build, but he does have a Courageous Strike on his first skill, and Courageous Strike is always irreplaceable in Titans. So he has the potential to do some nice damage in Titans, and of course he will get you through B10 fairly easily. I mean, not B10. He will get you through B7 fairly easily. The new Wood Mammoth, he's probably pretty nice to have if you really need someone to get you through B7 as well. You can think about Wood Loki, but like the same, but Wood Loki is just a bit of an upgrade to the Wood Miho, with the exception of, I think he has of his sleep on his second skill. Is a little less efficient than say stun, but that's only dependent on when he kind of gets his hits off. But yeah, so the other thing is the wood Stormbeak. So I would be cautious when it comes to building that for a new player, unless you feel unless you're just going to get it to Evo 2, then that's completely fine. And if it's really helping you through the game, then definitely build it, because he's got some nice attack on there, and it's fairly hard to get wood monsters at some point. You know, it could be hard to get wood monsters at some point. So if you feel like the Stormbeak helps get you through content, then, you know, build him. That's fine. But you should also think about whether you want to eventually fuse the Light Shiva. So I saved mine so that I can fuse the Light Shiva, but you know, actually using him, if it helps get you through the game, is totally fine too. But you should definitely think about whether you're going to Evo 3 him, because if you invest that many Stormbeaks, I would not put in Gleams. Don't do that. If you invest that many Stormbeaks into Evo 3ing a wood one, you should think about the fact that those same Stormbeaks could have gone into Evo 3ing a fire one and preparing you to get the Light Shiva, if that's your goal. I know there's some players who do not want to build a Light Shiva, and they don't want to invest into that. So it's a personal preference type thing. But yeah, so those are just some tips, guys, for running B7. So just to repeat, farmable team, it's really easy to make. You know, you can just go with the Wood Beth, with a Wood Miho, and a Wood Seedler, and then you can throw another monster in there. So you can consider a healer or another damage dealer. So maybe a Kokomaru or another Wood Beth. You can always do that, or another Wood Miho. There are a number of farmable monsters that will work here. And think about which monsters will help you in your Titans battles, because you should just definitely be able to transfer these same monsters that you're building for your Golems team into your Titans team. Trying it at an early stage, you should not try to. I don't think it's very efficient to try and build for exclusively for Titans. You want to build with the purpose of progressing in the game, and then just leverage those monsters later on in Titans. But that's just my opinion. Other people probably will tell you something different. But yeah, so that's all I have to say today, guys. I hope this helps someone, and if you like this video, then definitely give me a like and subscribe and comment, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.